3 episodes into Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and I genuinely feel like the show I fell in love with when I was 12 years old might finally be back. Not the watered down version, not the compromised version, the real one. But to understand why that matters, and why Season 2 feeling like the original Netflix show is actually a bigger deal than most people realize, you have to understand the insane, chaotic, and almost unbelievable journey the show has been on for the last 8 years. Because the story of how Daredevil got here is honestly more dramatic than anything that's happened on screen. I first watched Daredevil in 2017 when I was 12 years old, and I binged seasons 1 and 2 back to back in a couple of days. Then The Defenders. Then when season 3 came out in late 2018, I was absolutely blown away by it. It became my favorite show and I was obsessed with it. And then Netflix cancelled it a month later, and I genuinely could not understand why. The show was at its absolute peak. Season 3 was not just good, it was the kind of television that makes you think differently about what the medium is capable of. Matt losing his faith, Fisk engineering his own release from prison, Bullseye as one of the most terrifying villains I'd ever watched. The hallway fights that people still talk about today, and they just cancelled it. It didn't make sense, and it still doesn't fully make sense. Behind the scenes, Netflix and Marvel were in a fractured relationship. Netflix wanted bigger budgets to make shows better. Marvel Television wanted to keep the costs down. And Disney was quietly building Disney Plus, which would become a direct competitor to Netflix. The business logic eventually became clear. The emotional logic never did. So like a lot of people, I joined the same Daredevil movement. Just a little bit of hope that these characters would come back somewhere and somehow. And then came what I could only describe as a generational week in late 2021. I remember watching Hawkeye episode 5 and Wilson Fisk appeared on screen. I know the exact episode, I remember the exact scene because that's how significant that moment was. Vincent D'Onofrio, the Kingpin, was back in the MCU. Then about a week later, Spider-Man No Way Home dropped, and Matt Murdock showed up to defend Peter Parker and caught a brick without looking, and I absolutely lost my mind in the theater. That moment got a bigger pop from me than either Tobey or Andrew's returns, and Daredevil was finally back. Not just Fisk, not just a reference, these actual characters, the actual actors treated with the same weight and seriousness that made the original show work. Back in the MCU, back on the big screen. That week felt like something genuinely special for anyone who had spent 3 years watching the Save Daredevil movement and wondering if it would ever actually happen. In the summer of 2022, Marvel officially announced Daredevil Born Again, a brand new Disney Plus series, 18 episodes, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and then things got complicated. What most people don't fully know is that the show that was originally being made was almost completely unrecognizable from the Daredevil fans loved. The original creative team treated Born Again as essentially a soft reboot, loosely connected to the Netflix seasons, lighter in tone, more in line with the MCU's established Disney Plus style, and Karen wasn't in it. Foggy's death happened off screen, killed by a random dirty cop with no dramatic weight. Bullseye wasn't even planned to be in the series. Think about that. A Daredevil show without the grit, without Karen, without Foggy getting a proper send-off, without Bullseye, essentially Daredevil in name only. 6 episodes were filmed in this original version before the Writers Guild of America strike halted production in 2023. And when Marvel used that pause to actually look at what they had, they realized it wasn't working. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio had been raising concerns before cameras even started rolling. Jon Bernthal, who plays the Punisher, refused to appear in the show because he felt the direction wasn't right for the character and it wouldn't be right to the fans. So Marvel did something rare. They admitted the problem and overhauled the entire show. Let go of the original head writers, brought in Dario Scardapane, who had written for the Punisher as showrunner, brought in Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who directed Loki and Moon Knight, to helm the new episodes, brought back Karen Page, brought back Foggy Nelson, at least briefly, rewrote the pilot, gave Foggy's death the emotional weight it deserved, made Bullseye the one who pulls the trigger. The result was what one critic called a Frankenstein season. Episodes 1, 8, and 9 almost entirely new. Episodes 2 through 7, the restructured original footage, all stitched together into something that occasionally felt tonally inconsistent but ultimately worked because the bones underneath were right. That show, the compromised, complicated, patched together version, finally dropped on March 4th, 2025, 7 years after season 3, after the cancellation, the Save Daredevil movement, the Hawkeye moment, the No Way Home moment, all of it. I really enjoyed season 1 of Born Again. I want to be clear about that. The integration of Daredevil into the actual MCU New York felt seamless in a way I hadn't expected. Wilson Fisk as mayor was a compelling premise. The Matt and Fisk dynamic was genuinely great. The finale was one of the best things Marvel has put on Disney Plus. But when the season ended, it didn't stay with me the way the original show did. I didn't find myself thinking about it often. I didn't immediately need to rewatch or talk talk about it, and I think that's because the show, though no fault of the new creative team, who were genuinely fighting to save it, never quite shook the feeling of being two different shows stitched together. The tonal inconsistencies were real. Certain episodes felt like the original Netflix show, others felt like the lighter MCU version the original creative team had been building, and the supporting characters, Kristen McDuffie, Daniel Blake, B.V. Urich, took too long to become people you actually cared about deeply. It was good television, it wasn't great Daredevil. And then season 2 arrived, March 24th, 2026, 3 episodes in, and something genuinely feels different. The show is tighter, more focused, stakes feel enormous, Kingpin has declared war on vigilantes, Matt is building a resistance, Karen is back as a co-lead rather than a guest, and the political pressure cooker of Fisk's New York feels suffocating in exactly the right way. The bullseye thread is unsettling in a way that mirrors his best moments from season 3. The double episode drop of episodes 2 and 3 gave the season room to breathe and build simultaneously. Most importantly, and this is the thing that's the hardest to quantify but easiest to feel, it has the texture of the original show. The darkness, the weight, the sense that these are real people with real consequences living in a real version of New York rather than a backdrop for MCU plot machinery. The showrunner has said this season and last season were conceived as part 1 and part 2 of the same story, and it genuinely feels like season 1 was clearing the deck and season 2 is where the actual show begins. 5 episodes still to go. I'm not ready to make definitive claims, but right now 3 episodes in, this feels like the closest we've been to the show that made me care about Daredevil when I was 12 years old, staying up late on a school night because I couldn't turn it off. The journey from Netflix's cancellation to here has been 8 years. A writer's strike, a complete creative overhaul, a Save Daredevil movement, multiple MCU cameos, and one Frankenstein first season that still somehow managed to land. None of it should have worked. The fact that we're sitting here watching what is shaping up to be genuinely excellent Daredevil television in 2026 is something that felt genuinely impossible in late 2018 when Netflix sent those cancellation letters. 5 more episodes, and I'll be making a review of the whole season once it finishes. And that, of course, without fear. Thanks for watching.